So I'm here to present. I'm the dementia care specialist, and right now Leslie is passing out my little handout for you. So I'm going to make this as interactive as possible. I'll be asking you guys some questions. So feel free to just join in and get your brain moving. So just curious, for those of you in this room, how many of you are concerned that you will ever get Alzheimer's or related dementia? Okay, show of hands. Okay, all right, good. Well, that's good, because I do like to start this out by saying anyone, the number one risk factor for Alzheimer's or another dementia is having a brain. So that is all of us in this room, which is great. So what I'm here to present to you today is what science is telling us that can create, either delay the symptoms or make the symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia less intense, if you would say. So this is what we know current neuroscience is telling us about 5 areas of brain health. So on your PowerPoint, does everyone have one? Just raise your hand if you don't. Leslie will bring you one. Here she comes. Oh, okay, you're gonna share. That's great. Okay. So I like to start it out with a cartoon where there's a lovely couple and the wife asks her husband, "Hey, how'd your memory improvement class go last night?" And he says, "Whoops, I completely forgot about it." We've all had those moments, right, where we walked into the room and thought, "Why did I come in here?" Or we can't find the right word. It happens to us, and we'll talk a little bit about that. As normal aging, we get a little bit more forgetful, or it gets a little bit more difficult, but we'll talk a little bit about the difference between that too. So can anyone here just tell me the difference between Alzheimer's disease and dementia? Or what you've heard about it? Go ahead. Any answer is an okay answer. Use those brains.
What I understand is that there's lots of different kinds of dementias and causes, but Alzheimer's is one of them.
Nice answer. Oh, I should have like chocolate. Dark chocolate. Absolutely. So she said that there's a lot of different types of dementias, and Alzheimer's is one common cause of it, and you're absolutely correct. So if we flip to page 2, you'll see that dementia is an umbrella term. Much like you think of, cancer, and there's different types of cancer. You have breast cancer, lung cancer. That's the same way dementia is. Alzheimer's disease is responsible for about 80% of all dementias. But you'll see in that chart that there's other things such as reversible dementias. So oftentimes we don't think that our physical health can affect our brain health, and it does. We also have vascular dementia. So if anyone has high blood pressure, so great way of getting it checked today, diabetes or high cholesterol, anything that could possibly damage the blood flow to the brain, you're at risk for what we call a vascular dementia. You can have Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia. Lewy body dementia is one of the most misdiagnosed and underdiagnosed, oftentimes as Parkinson's disease. How many of you have heard of Lewy body dementia? Okay, good. That's a great number in this room. So it's really hard to get a diagnosis within a 15-minute doctor's appointment. You really want a specialist who's going to figure out what is changing your brain health. Because, again, it may be treatable. So I'm glad that we're all on the same page. Oftentimes there's been a lot of stigma about Alzheimer's. I'll hear a lot in the community that everyone gets a little dementia, or it starts out that way and then it progresses to Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's is where you get really violent. So those are just things and myths that we've heard. But now you know that dementia just means that 2 or more parts of the brain aren't working the same way that they were before. And it can be caused by multiple reasons or multiple causes. So the next slide says, brain reserve. Your brain can change. Well, we used to think you turned 25 and that was about the peak of your brain. Now we know that that's not true, that it doesn't matter your age, but that we have billions of these neuron cells in our brain, and they're all talking to each other with branches. And so we can create stronger branches and new connections that reach out and touch each other. So imagine your brain as like a rainforest. You want to build your brain up like the Amazon rainforest, one of the biggest rainforests in the world. And you want to have all these strong branches and connections touching each other so that if, let's say, Alzheimer's disease comes in as a weed whacker and it starts cutting down branches, The idea is that you may not see symptoms till later on, or the symptoms may be less intense. And that's what the brain science is showing us right now. So there is some reserve against brain damage. In fact, how many of you are familiar with the Nun study? Okay, a couple. So there was a group of nuns from actually quite a few convents that agreed to donate their brains to science, and these scientists followed them their whole life. And what they found is that some of these brains, upon autopsy, had these plaques and tangles, meaning, gosh, when I look at this, it looks like this lady should have had Alzheimer's disease. But when they went back and looked at those memory tests and all the neurocognitive tests, they never showed any signs and symptoms. So part of this science is pulled from the Nun study. The University of Wisconsin has a very large study looking at people who had Alzheimer's disease and then following their children. And some of this stuff is coming right out of that. So there is really good news. Just because I have plaques and tangles in my brain, okay, I just don't want the symptoms of Alzheimer's or another related dementia. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's turn to page 3. Before I get into the 5 areas of brain health, let's just talk about stress. Anyone been under stress lately? Okay. We all chuckle and laugh, and our world's become pretty stressful. It's a lot quicker paced, and stress is good in short bits, right? So if we have an infection or we have surgery, our body's normal response is to have a stress response, which helps us to heal. But what we don't want is long-term stress. We don't want to continuously be under that process because it does alter the brain's ability to function at its highest potential. I know when I'm stressed, I'm more often I can't keep as much stuff in my little brain, my little hippocampus, and I forget more. I walk into the room more and think, why did I come in here? It's harder for me to multitask. It also disrupts sleep routines. Again, for me, my head hits the pillow and it's the quiet time, and what do I think about? Everything that I should be doing tomorrow so that I can reduce my stress. And sleep is very important for brain health. It can also increase poor eating habits. Trisha, you're not you without a Snickers bar, right? I'm kind of out of control. I'm not ready to eat my greens, my vegetables and fruits. I'm more quick to kind of reach for that pumpkin bar, which was delicious, by the way. It can also disrupt our hormone levels. The specific one we're looking at with stress is called cortisol. And again, in short amounts or small amounts, it's good for the body. But long term, cortisol just causes all of our cells in the body to get really inflamed and kind of sick. That's the best way to describe it. So we want to find ways to deal with that. It can also alter our integrations with others, decreasing our socializing habits. And socialization is very important for the brain and can result in challenges of learning and recalling new information. It can also increase your risk of getting sick because it suppresses your immune system. So, good or bad, what are some of the ways that you guys deal with stress? How are you getting rid of that cortisol?
Exercise.
Exercise. Okay.
Nature.
What?
Nature.
Nature, just being out in nature, right? Okay, a little maybe meditation, just slowing down. Great.
Reading.
Reading. Good. Excellent. Prayer. Good. So we're all going to deal with stress day to day, but one of the things that we really want to do is learn how to deal with it and manage it. In that next slide, it says a candy bar would make me feel better. That's me. I don't eat right when I'm really stressed. And then the next picture is a hammock on a really pretty beach. I know it's not in color. And I would love to go away to a beautiful island in the Caribbean and deal with my stress that way. However, my finances and just work life doesn't always allow me to do that. But that's what I'd like to be able to deal with my stress. So let's turn to page 4. These are the 5 domains of a brain-healthy lifestyle. And they include nutrition, socialization, mental stimulation, spirituality, and physical activity. So it's 5 pieces of a pie, and I'm here to tell you that you gotta bite into each piece. So you can't be really good at socializing and not have a very good nutrition or physical activity. It's not gonna help for your brain health. So you really wanna look at all 5 of these areas to, again, make those connections in your brain stop and grow stronger. Make new neuron connections. That's what all 5 of these areas do. So let's talk a little bit about mental stimulation. Learn a second language. Even if it's hello or goodbye, how are you in Spanish and French, it's great for your brain. It stimulates different areas of your brain. Read and write on a daily basis. Learn sign language. Play board games. When your grandchildren or great-grandchildren get a new board game for Christmas, learn it with them. Even if it takes you a little bit longer, that will stimulate your brain. Travel. Again, if you can't go to the Caribbean all the time, travel to a different location here in our beautiful Northwest Wisconsin area, try a different town for Friday night fish fry. Change it up as much as you can. Play a musical instrument. It can be something simple like a recorder or harmonica. It, again, activates the brain. Listen to classical music and problem solve. I've never been good at math. It's a struggle for me, and one of the best things for me to do is sit down and do math problems. It's going to activate a part of my brain that I don't continuously use. I speak all the time. This part of my brain is ready to go and does it all the time. It becomes habit. So what I need to do is I need to change that up and solve problems, especially math ones. And if you're really good at engineering and math, do some art, do some painting. Challenge that other side, opposite side of your brain. Let's turn to page 5. And again, just talking a little bit about neurobics, kind of like aerobics, except your heart rate's not going to get really high. You won't be out of breath. And these are fun. Walk a different route. People ask me this all the time. It's great. Incorporate some exercise and physical activity. If you always walk that same routine, change it up. Go the opposite way. Brush your teeth or eat with your non-dominant hand. A lot of folks ask me, well, what? That's so weird. But it causes that brain to stop and those cells, because they're so used to routine, go, Trisha, this isn't normal. What's happening? And create a stronger connection in neuron. So these are very easy things to do, and they don't cost you a lot of money. Turn your photos in your house upside down. Everyone with kind of obsessive compulsive disorder is like, what? I can't do that. And people ask me that, well, why? Because it's going to cause you to stop. You're going to look at it, and it's out of the routine of your house. Move your garbage can around. You might have some garbage going under your sink for a little bit. But we are such creatures of routine that when we stop and make these small changes, it causes our brain to stop and make a stronger neuron connection. Order a new dish. Can you guess the ingredients? So again, very simple stuff that you can do that doesn't cost a lot of money, that's good for your brain health. I always give the example, my second child didn't seem to obey the rules in the kitchen as far as staying out of the cabinets and the drawers, so we did have to child-proof everything in there. And guess how many me and my husband broke? All of them, because we were so used to just opening the cabinets, and so it was challenging for our brain health. When we got the second route, we're now used to that. So again, it just shows you that we're so used to routine, you gotta change it up as much as you can. Socialize. Don't isolate or segregate as you get older. And sometimes in our rural communities, that can get difficult. I know I speak with a lot of older folks who have moved up here to retire, and some of their family and friends have passed away, and they don't seem to know, who else is around. Join groups and social organizations in your community, or volunteer, and try something new. Maintain and build your friendship and family network. Be forgiving. Glad I'm in a church speaking about that, but oftentimes I'll hear from somebody who, 85, and she never talks to her sister because of that thing she did 30 years ago, and I'm not going to talk with her. Both husbands have passed away, you know what I mean? There's an opportunity to socialize and connect, so being forgiving allows us to also build up our social network. Develop hobbies, and do not retire. I think you were just talking about retirement. So we all laugh at that. It just means use it or lose it. Keep active in your retirement. Don't stress yourself, but still keep up with hobbies and do something. You gotta use it or you'll lose that. So let's turn to page 6. Let's talk about good nutrition. How many of you have heard what's good for the heart is good for the brain? Okay, excellent. So if we're talking about all those blood vessels in our body are connecting and supplying our brain with blood and the nutrients that it needs, we want to have a healthy diet. Right now, we know that science has shown that the Mediterranean diet is one of the most healthful diets. People have less markers of inflammation, Alzheimer's disease, heart disease, and stroke by following the Mediterranean diet. So that just means that folks who follow this diet eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and we are hearing that already. That's good for your diet. Eat a lot of berries, such as strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. They have stuff in them that just kind of go in, and when we talked about that cortisol making all your cells get all kind of sick and inflamed, those will go in there and kind of knock them out and make all of the cells go back to normal. Beans, 3 to 6 servings daily. Nuts, 3 to 5 pieces. Whole grains, so they use your whole grains, nothing that's white or processed. Olive oil, they tend to cook all their foods with an olive oil. And they have their fish is usually broiled, not fried. And alcohol, up to 2 glasses of red wine. If you don't drink alcohol, what's something else you could use? Grape juice, yep, make sure it's 100%, or like the pomegranate juice. Again, it's going to have those, what they call antioxidants, that just come in and help all those cells kind of repair whatever damage has been going on. And they cook with a lot of spices, turmeric, ginger, and garlic. They have lower consumption of saturated fats, dairy products, red meat, and poultry. So I just encourage you to look at the high consumption list and see what's something you could incorporate. You don't have to change everything overnight, but maybe it's replacing a snack with a handful of almonds, right, if you're not a big nut eater. Or switching to whole grains instead of your white and processed. So let's turn to page 7. Again, with nutrition, eat 80% of what you intend to eat and eat with utensils. When we eat 80% of our meal, it allows our brain to catch up with our stomach and give the signal that we're full. And eating with utensils, this just means typically if I'm eating with a fork and knife or a spoon, it typically can be a little bit healthier. What are some things that you think of with just eating with your hands? Potato chips, hot dogs, fast food. I got my McDonald's, right. So if you can kind of eat that one sit-down meal a day with others, that helps to incorporate that socialization. Water is very important. They recommend 24 to 40 ounces daily. Eat a colored variety of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Include fish, beans, eggs, and nuts. That's what's going to supply a lot of that omega-3, which is very good for brain health. So if you're curious about that and you don't eat a lot of fish, beans, eggs, and nuts, always feel free to talk with your pharmacist or doctor about whether an omega-3 supplement is right for you. And decrease the intake of processed foods. What's a processed food? Pre-made. Yeah. The more ingredients it has, the more processed it is. If you pick up an apple, the ingredient is apple. So it's healthier for you. Kind of easier to remember it that way. So it's a good question to say, how healthy is your diet? For physical activity, the current recommendations are walking between 7,000 and 12,000 steps a day. Dance, garden, do aerobic exercises, tai chi, yoga, strength exercises. I always encourage you, do whatever you love and makes you feel good. Just move. I don't even like to call it exercise. Your body was just meant to move, so just move it in any way you like. Become ambidextrous. Use both sides of your body often. Again, I go out on my walk and I'm right-handed, so I'll consciously try to make that decision of walking a different route and start off with my left hand. I look a little weird when I start out because it's just not coordinated enough, but it's activating that part of my brain that I don't use as much. So, page 8, you don't stop playing. These are some quotes that I love about physical activity, and I hope they inspire you. But Ben Franklin said, you don't stop playing because you grow old because you stop playing. So play, find something you love and do it. If exercise could be purchased in a pill, it would be the single most widely prescribed and beneficial medicine in the nation. So it not only helps brain health, it really helps your body and multiple things. It's never too late to begin. I don't care if you're 85, 95, 100, 105. We're living longer than ever before. It's never too late to incorporate movement in your life. And those who do not find time to exercise sooner or later will have to find time for illness. Spirituality. Pray on a daily basis. Regularly attend a formal place of worship. Don't quit coming because maybe you lost your spouse or your friend network is kind of shrinking. Learn to meditate. And that's really a lot about slowing down and being aware. I can't tell you how many folks will tell me, oh, I just drove to the store and I don't even know how I got there. Or I drove to work and My mind is just racing on all these other things that all of a sudden I pull in and I don't even know how I showed up there. So that means you're not being really mindful. You can be mindful in the car just by, or even wherever you're at, just by noticing what you're seeing, what you're hearing. What are the smells like? Is there a sunset? Is there a sunrise? Memorize the license plate in front of you. So there's ways of causing your brain to just kind of slow down and be more aware and in the moment. Learn relaxation procedures with deep breathing and muscle relaxation. Slow down and don't be afraid to say no. You know, I talked to you about getting involved in organizations and groups and hobbies. Yes, but also make sure that you have good enough boundaries so that you don't create that stress response. I think we all know that person who's like, I'm over here on this meeting, and then I gotta go over here, and then I'm gonna go do this, and they're doing so much, and you're like, ooh, boy, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of time for you. That's really not good for their brain health. And then just, again, mindfulness and meditation. So, let's turn to page 9. A lot of people ask me, you know, well, how do I know what normal aging is versus not normal aging? How do I know the difference? So normal, as we get older, we're a little bit slower to think. Our grandchildren are going to be a lot faster at learning that new tablet or the new iPhone, whatever that comes out. But we can still learn it. It might take us a little bit longer, but that's okay. We can still learn and process those new things. We might be slower to do something. We hesitate more. We've got a lot more wisdom. We might have been burnt once or twice in our life and learned a good lesson. So we hesitate. We're more likely to look before we leap. We know the person, but not the name. Or we have a hard time finding the name or the word, but it comes to us later. And it could be midnight and you wake up. That's right, that was the word I was looking for. That's frustrating. It gets kind of just annoying. You're not able to multitask the same way you were when you were in your 20s. You pause to find the right words. You're reminded of the past. Wasn't it so much better back in the day? So it's a little bit harder, but you can still do all of your normal activities of daily living, driving, cooking, shopping, planning, all of that. It's just more frustrating. Not normal aging is I can't think the same. I'm not doing like I did before. I can't balance that checkbook like I did before, or go grocery shopping. Cooking, I'm not following recipes correctly. It's really affecting my day-to-day. People are saying I'm repeating myself or asking the same questions. I'm misplacing things and I really can't retrace my steps. I don't know where I was last night that I came in through the garage and then went down to the basement and came back to the bathroom. I can no longer retrace those steps. Can't seem to get started. That planning and organization, we all kind of wake up with a plan of what we're going to do during the day. That gets affected. I don't know maybe what I'm going to do today or what's next. Doesn't think it all out. Did everyone get $5 out and pass it down? And Alan, would you collect that for me? It's my collection. Come on, everyone. What? You're not doing that? Okay. Good. So you're, executing some judgment. Why is she asking me for that? Oh, it's for a charity. Is that going to stay here? Where is that going to go? You're all kind of thinking, what is she doing? Somebody that doesn't have a normal brain process might be more vulnerable to that. Oh, you need $5? Okay, here you go. Your grandchildren's in trouble. Can I get $1,000 right away? Absolutely. QVC, Home Shopping Network. I see it. Yep, I guess I need that. Publishers Clearinghouse. That judgment is really not there. That filters that. And so they're very vulnerable to some financial abuse and scams. Can't place the person. So not only do I not know the name, but my neighbor who I've lived with 20 years, I'm kind of looking at him like, who's that again? I'm Jerry. Oh, hey Jerry, nice to meet you. Not really realizing that, oh yeah, you're my neighbor that I've lived next to, or that I should know you. I come to church and we've been at the same church and I'm having a hard time not only with your name, but placing who you are in my life. Words don't come, and they don't even come later. I don't wake up at midnight with the words. So what's the thingamajig? The whatchamacallit? Hand clock? The hand clock? I'm going to start to describe words a lot more. Very confused about the past and present. I can wake up maybe 20 years ago. It's a lot easier for me to think more about the past than it is the present. So you can see that these differences are extremely different than a normal aging forgetfulness. I know a lot of folks say, we forget a word or something and we get nervous, like, oh my gosh. Not normal aging from a dementia process is very different, and it's going to affect your day-to-day living. So, keeping sharp at any age, don't smoke, limit your alcohol intake, 2 glasses of red wine, protect your brain from concussions and traumatic brain injuries. In our older adult age group, one of the biggest causes of a traumatic brain injury is actually due to falls. So we have, as we get older, 1 out of 3 adults over the age of 65 will fall. So we really want to protect our brain and our head from any type of fall. Get enough sleep, 7 to 8 hours per night is what's recommended. When we sleep, everyone kind of builds up plaques and tangles, just the day-to-day stress and stuff that comes up there. Sleep is directly responsible for going and cleaning all of that out. Treat sleep apnea. Again, if you don't have enough oxygen going up to your brain, you're going to have some brain health issues. Watch your weight, treat depression and manage stress. Manage any of those vascular risk factors such as diabetes, high blood pressure, or cholesterol. Always check for thyroid problems and vitamin deficiencies if you are concerned about your brain health. Those can affect your memory. And ask a health professional to check for medication interactions. I can't tell you on a personal level how many folks I've worked with in 3 counties that their brain memory loss or confusion was actually due to medications, including over-the-counter. So I can't stress that enough. And somebody's thinking, oh my goodness, I have Alzheimer's disease. That's not the case. It was actually medication. So in summary, dementia is a result of a lot of underlying processes. We don't know what causes dementia. Unfortunately, we're way behind in research. We don't know what's the cause of all of these. What we're finding, though, is that some of it is modifiable. Actually, about 70% of it is what we do in the environment. That's what science is saying. So it's based on those lifestyle choices. Eat what's good for the heart is going to be good for the brain. That includes your nutrition and your physical activity. Choose mental activities that are challenging and enjoyable. Up the ante to continually strengthen our brains. And build physical activity into your lifestyle. Make it social. Incorporate novelty in your brain health recipe. Newness, newness, newness. Get out of routine. I know we all love routine, but anytime you can change it up or incorporate something new, it's good for your brain health. So use it or lose it. Questions? How am I on time? Good? Okay. Otherwise, I have a small little activity if you want to do it. Do we have time?
How long will that take?
Maybe like 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay. All right. So just in your kind of groups there, just with your folks kind of in a couple pews with you, just turn, and I want you guys to, we're going to do a little singing. We're going to activate our brain. And we're in a church. We should be used to this. I want you to think of a song that has a name of a woman in the song that starts with the letters A through M. Okay? So like this group, you're going to come up with a song that has a name of a lady in there. For example, you can't use this one now. Sweet Caroline, bum, bum, bum. Good, right? Now you can't use that. You're going to come up with the name of a song too. You all have to be able to sing a little bit of the lyrics. Just a little bit. At least 1 or 2 lines. But you can't repeat each other. Okay? So quickly, let's get going.
Ready? Start? Okay, who wants to go first? We do. Oh!
These ladies in the back did it first though. Ready?
Mary had a
You can't repeat it.
Yeah, but they're on the wrong side.
So who's next?
We were able to win.
Everyone's 8 through 1. Everyone's 8 through 1. You guys want to go? Okay.
But you lost playing.
Good.
My father-in-law used to sing that to me.
All right, we're ready over here. That was excellent. I love that.
We got that.
Okay,
Daisy, Daisy, near answer. I have crazy over the love of you. I can't.
Okay, let's hear it. Excellent. This is good. Who else needs to? Okay, over here.
Delta Dawn set flower yellow. Could it be a faded rose from days gone by?
Whoa, you should say Okay. I all got it.
Yes, sing that.
Others are going.
I'm a genie with a light crown.
So, thank you guys all for playing along. If you found that challenging, it should be, because music is deeply ingrained into our brain, but I also had to really work to look at, okay, A through M, name of a lady, who is that, and work from different generations as well, but that actually stimulated those brain neurons. So, thank you so much.
That was a lot better than the stretch break. I better sit on this side of the aisle, working on change.